freeze. Ed Гийн, a 51-year-old bachelor who lived in an isolated farmhouse outside of town.
Everybody had a role to play in this town. And I think that Ed Гийн was recognized probably not as the village idiot, but as a village oddball, I would say.
That evening, about 2 hours after Bernice Warden was reported missing, Sheriff Art Schley headed out with another deputy to Ed Gein's farm.
If you ever wanted to have a Halloween party, that would be a great place for it. It was a spooky house out on the edge of town, and it was dark, and there wasn't a sign of life there.
The doors of the house were locked, so the officers decided to take a look inside the woodshed.
They went in investigating with flashlights. It was pitch black because there was no electricity and no lights. And one of the lawmen felt something bump against his shoulder. He turned, shined his flashlight on it, and indeed, there was Bernice Warden hanging from the rafters, upside down with her head off and gutted like a deer.
Ed Гийн was taken into custody that night. As he sat quietly in his cell at the Washara County Jail, police continued to search his woodshed and then cautiously ventured into his home. Inside, they would discover a horrific scene. Bernice Warden's gutted carcass, it turned out, was only Ed Gein's latest grim creation. On November 16, 1957, the quiet farming town of Plainsfield, Wisconsin was abuzz with rumors about the murder of one of its residents. Bernice Warden's mutilated and decapitated corpse had been found that night in the woodshed of 51-year-old Ed Гийн. With Гийн now in custody, police prepared to enter his house for the first time. It was a cold, dark night, and the place had no electricity. The officers had only lanterns and flashlights to illuminate the scene.
Well, Gein's entire house was in a state of really unimaginable squalor. It was so completely overwhelmed with the trash of a decade.
It was chaos in terms of housekeeping. Well, you don't keep house. The kitchen was a jumble. Everything, there was dirty things here and newspapers laid up here and junk all over the place.
But the officers discovered much more than mere filth. In plain sight, scattered throughout the house, was a ghastly array of human remains.
Investigators were completely stunned and appalled to discover this incredible collection of human body objects. And among the things they found were bowls that had been made from the tops of human skulls.
And then they found what looked like trinkets, but it was like a string of nipples from breasts, all on a string.
They found a shade pole that was made from a set of women's lips.
And they had found other body parts there. Then you'd go out into what would be like a living room, and they found furniture, a lampshade that was made out of human skin, chairs that were upholstered in human skin.
They found face masks. Geen had apparently flayed the skin from the heads of the victims and preserved them and stuffed them with paper and hung them on the wall as decorations.
Each disturbing discovery seemed to top the previous one, until finally, one officer came upon a brown paper bag.
He opened the paper bag and saw a hank of human hair, and as he himself later described it, he said he had no idea what possessed him to do it, but just sort of reflexively, he reached in and pulled this thing out. To
his horror, he discovered it was a woman's face. Worse yet, it was someone the cops recognized, a local bar owner named Mary Hogan, who had gone missing 3 years before. For 30 hours, the man apparently responsible for this gruesome spectacle